Good evening, everybody. Welcome back for round two. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Tanya, and on my channel, we discuss true crime daily. Thank you, Be Happy, for the $2 super sticker. That's awfully nice, and I love the dogs. They look very lovely. As you guys are coming in, get comfortable. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. And we'll get started with tonight's live shortly. I have my night crew here tonight. So we got some from the day crew, but we have some from the night. I like lives at night too. I really do. I would do more lives at night if it meant I didn't have to be bored all day in the daytime. Do you know what I mean? So what I think I'm going to do during summer is I'm going to take this summer, because every year I say I'm going to sit at the pool and I never sit at that pool. And I'm going to sit at the pool during the day, take like little naps. Tell me if this doesn't sound good. And then I'll come up here and do lives at night. I say that now, but you know me. I'll be doing lives still. Yeah, no problem. So I thought Nancy was playing this video tonight, but this is actually from last night, but it's not out. So it's not out on YouTube anywhere. You have to have like a membership for Fox Nation to get it. So earlier today when I was like, yeah, we're going to go live tonight. Well, I told Vincent about it, and y'all thank my lucky stars for him. 'Cause he was like, Tanya, that Twitter was, 'cause he double checks my work, which I'm so glad he does sometimes, you know? So he was like, well, that was yesterday's post. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean yesterday's post? You know? And so he got on there when I was in the other room, and he downloaded the app for Fox Nation. It's only like $6, but he gets it for me and he gets the video. And then I had to tell him I already had the Fox Nation app. I downloaded it already. So it was kind of funny, but he's my right-hand man there. Shit, Titanium will be poolside. Yeah, come on up. More the merrier. I never have had a pool party since I've lived here. We've been here 6 years, and we have a really nice pool, a huge deck. I mean, it's beautiful, grills, the whole nine, and we never do. And I need to do that. I hope that Kelly D's getting some relief. I heard that she's still not feeling good. That's not good. So earlier on the live, if you guys were here, we were having terrible rainstorms during the live, which we didn't have any, internet problems. Thank you, Vincent, for hardwiring this stuff. And if that were to happen, I had my cell phone handy, but we were having terrible, terrible storms, and we had a tornado here about 4 years ago. It was terrible. 8 different tornadoes touched down. We've never had anything like that since the 70s in Ohio, and I wasn't born in then, but growing up, we would have like tornado drills in school, and I thought those were like the coolest. And then whenever like a tornado, we'd have a tornado watch or maybe even a warning. I swear I never took it serious. My best friend would be on like in the basement, southwest wall, like covered, freaking out. Me, on the other hand, I remember one time I was in the hallway because we didn't have a basement, and I was eating Doritos. Like I was probably like 15. I was like, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Well, I did the same thing today. I was like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to show you these pictures. I didn't even know that this happened until Vincent came home. And then I just saw this on, Twitter. Took me off the stream. There I am. Okay. Maybe we'll do this, right? But yeah, I can't really blow this one up for some reason. But if you can see it, here we go. Actually, I can. And I'll let it play a couple times, but you can see it. Like, we were just chilling. Watching Alec Murdaugh, or not Alec on stand, but Alec's trial. Yeah, that was right by Vincent's work. So he works about 30 minutes from here. So that was like right around the corner. But then there's another one as I'm scrolling down. I was like, the next post, it was, let me see if I can find it. This one here is right down. Oh, sorry, that's loud. This is like right down the road from my house. This was like literally a block away, that funnel cloud. And I heard something fall. I wonder what I heard earlier. Because I heard something fall, like it was before the live. It sounded like a gutter or something. It was like kind of loud. And I was just like, whatever, you know what I mean? But no, we don't do tornadoes in Ohio. Like, we're not near a tornado alley. We're not in Kansas or Oklahoma or those states that, you know what I mean, where you see those tornadoes. This is crazy to us. When we had the tornado touch, the 8th touchdown 4 years ago, I slept through it. I can't sleep at all. I wake up with everything, but I slept through a tornado. I love watching storms. We never thought we was, going to get lifted up by one. But because I told Vincent I was mad. I said, why didn't you wake me up if there was a tornado? And I'm like screaming, I'm like freaking out. And he was like, oh, I didn't know. He's like, by the time I got my pants on, he was like, it was gone. It was just like, it was here and it was done. And we were lucky. We only got very minimal damage. But when we walked outside, it was like eerie. I mean, the calm, the quietness, and just like, it was so bad. Oh, global warming, Susie. I believe in that. Every year it gets warmer here. I swear. Like, I love the temperatures that, when they're warmer, but at the same time, I don't. Before I do get started with the video today, I did want to go over a couple things with you guys. Here, so I can read my notes here. Yeah, no, that does look creepy. And I can't believe we were just sitting in here like having fun, which was fine. I said, if I blew away, just remember, to call Vincent. I should probably have I probably should give him one of the mods his number. You never know what can ever happen. I don't know whatever could happen, but what if I fall asleep on the live or something? Who was that? Someone did that on their live one time. South of the Florida native, Hollywood Beach here, 53 years. Oh my gosh. Oh, I bet that's nice. But you guys deal with hurricanes. So I'm good. I'll do a tornado here and there, but no, I won't. And the thing is, Vincent's from California. So he's used to earthquakes. He knows nothing about a tornado. So he was like, yeah, he was not feeling it. But I wanted to let you know, if you guys are just now joining us, we are going to be talking about Alec Murdaugh and his trial that's going on right now. Nancy is, I guess, outside the courthouse because this is the video that I found of her. This aired last night on Fox Nation, but you have to have a subscriber account to get the video. But I got it. Hopefully, my girl Nancy doesn't flag me, which she never usually does. And if she does, she always comes back and says, it's okay, Tanya. I feel like we're friends. She has no idea who I am. But I feel like if I talk good, she won't, hurt me. Thunderstorms are fine. Yeah, then tornadoes, yeah. But before we do watch this video on Alec Murdaugh and his trial, I just want to let you know, I will be pausing it, just periodically to talk about the video and what's going on in it. I will also be in the chat, so make sure you comment your thoughts about this case below. Oh, California. I love California. I am going to go over our channel memberships before we get started because I did add a new membership to it because I want to start doing a lot more members only lives. And I feel like it would be, I don't know, more fun if we had just a few more members. So we have a new tier and it's only going to be $1.99. And with this tier, you'll have access to get a badge beside your name. You'll be green in the chat and you'll get emojis. So if you have Titan Tier 1 right now, which is the $2.99, you're going to have the priority replies to comments, members only shout outs, members only live streams, and then you'll still have the badge by your name and the emojis. So for every tier you go up, you get the following tier, with it. And then Titan Tier 2, we'll still have that one for $7.99. That's early access to new videos, member only videos, discounted merch, and then a life vlog and behind the scenes kind of stuff like that. And then of course you'll get everything from Tier 1 and tier, the tier with the emojis and the badges. So I wanted to let you guys know that. And I'll link the channel membership in the chat if you guys ever decide you want to join. We have a pretty good group going right now. And I even gifted some out the other night. I might do that again sometime soon. That was fun. I have to figure out how I did that. Oh, no, we have a Nancy emoji. Oh, yeah, let me see. I got to get on my thing. I'm not on my... It's so weird with lives. You have to be on like 15 different places. But we've got one. It's not like... Let me load this page for some reason. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I'll say someone will put them out there. There we go. There's the Nancy ones. Yeah, it's so weird. To stream, to use like my emojis, I have to use streaming service through YouTube, but to show some certain chats, like, I don't know, you have to use an iPad. I don't understand why YouTube is so like, why are they doing this to me? Why are you making my life so hard? But one last thing I wanted to mention before we get started was I want to do a mental health live, but I'm thinking I want it to be members only. That way there is just added like safety there. I want people to feel comfortable sharing their feelings, and I'm not sure if people will want to do that if it's like made public. I thought these would be good to do at the end of the month or the first of every month, like the last day or the first day, as a way to like refresh ourselves. So just let me know in the comments what you think, because I can do it for everyone. I mean, I can do it like openly, but maybe if we did it like as members only, it would make it a little, just a little better, because mental health does matter. Yeah. And we've all been talking about it in the chat here lately, that we all need like a little refresh. I feel like ever since COVID, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I don't know where I'm at. My whole like personality is different. Like everything's switched. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, remember, hit the like button on your way in. Oh, look at your puppy. Oh, that's a cute dog. That's such a good dog. Oh, look, you guys can actually see my cat if you look. Let me see if I can get it up. I do have a co-host this evening. He's sleeping on the job. So, he's fired. He's fired already. Oh, I'm so glad you became a member, Ashley. I thought you might have been one already. Oh, I'm so glad. That's so exciting. I'm so happy. We're going to have so much fun. I can't believe he's actually sitting back here. He never does that. Like, he'll usually get up in a minute, so. But he's 14 years old. That's like my everything. Like, other than Vincent, if you had to, and my dogs, but I mean, if you had to say what is the one thing that you treasure the most, it would be Rocky. Yeah, I had a dog named Adrian, so we had to name him Rocky for the movie. So yeah, he has to be, cute back there. I thought about getting like a cat tree or something so he can hang out back there. Yeah, Ashley's on the green team. I love it. I love when I look in the chat and it's like a bunch of green. I love that. Doesn't make it any better. It makes it so good. And it's so crazy because we've been gifted, like me and Vincent's been gifted memberships. Well, I've gifted one and then he's gifted some. And so we should be getting some more members too. Hopefully people will know when they get like their memberships, if they get them gifted. Just remember, if you like see somebody that like is gifting memberships, it's always good. Okay, so this is how it works real quick before we get started. If you're present in the chat and you like, you watch my videos and you comment on any videos really, you can even do it just a couple times. And it just like, that's how the algorithm works. It'll take like, if you gift, it doesn't let you decide who you get to gift the memberships to. Which as a creator, I hate that because I want to be able to pick. If sometimes I want to buy someone a membership, I should be able to do that, but I can't. It'll just base it off of who participates the most, which I think that's pretty cool. I've been actually gifted a membership more than once and in one creator's chat because I forgot to renew mine, and then someone like gifted, like I got gifted like the second day I didn't have it. Yeah, so they last for 1 month. Yep, so they last for 1 month. So your phone still won't let you? Okay, do you have an iPhone, Summer? Because I think iPhones are different than Android. Let me see. Hi, Sandy. Yeah, if you're on your MacBook, if you go to my, okay, I'm gonna do it real quick because I can do that, and I can just send you the link. But if you go to my main page, like, I'm gonna show you guys this really quick because we were having problems with this earlier, and I hate for people not to be able to join. So if you go to my, like, you know, my page here, you'll just see the join button here, and so you'll just click the join button, and then oops. That's loud. That was on my old speaker, so sorry. And that's an old video, so I'll have to redo that. And then the Titan Tier 1, it should go on there by tomorrow. It might not be on there right now, the one for the $199, just because I just made it. So it might take a minute for it to refresh. So, oh, you clicked the link under your profile? And it took me to an external page. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, I am terrible at this kind of stuff. I'm learning. Vincent's actually learning. He's actually been really helpful. Like, for him, when I watch true crime on TV, you know, I watched all the time, ID channel, Oxygen, you know, he would be like, not even paying attention. Not a word. Now he knows just as much about the cases as I do. And I think that's amazing, because then I can ask him questions if I have any. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this. You were having issues trying to send a super chat the other night? Oh no. Well, I'm not mad at YouTube now. Now you're messing with me, YouTube. I know, I feel like I'm in this like this little bind too. Like I don't know, like my subscriber count is just like, it's good. I mean, I'm doing great. The channel is doing great, but it's just been stuck at like only in the 80s. I feel like the last couple of days, and I'm like, YouTube, what are you doing to me? But I don't think it's really them. I used to never blame YouTube, so I'm not going to start now. So, okay, we got everybody in the chat. You do have an iPhone? Okay, me too. But I think since I'm the creator, I have to look on someone else's page. But I will do that now. We will go ahead and start this. Nancy is, let me see if she put anything down. Oh, she didn't. Okay, let me go forward. Is this the right one?
Has anybody else been fired recently?
I want to make sure I had that right one. Okay.
Fox Nation's hit docu-series is...
Okay. So before we get started, I wanted to make sure I had the right one on there. If you guys could, you know, like the video, it is free to do. I know I say it a lot, but you know, it's fun to say it. So, if you do like the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're here daily. I think I hear a cat. So yeah, I think I think it's weird to gift it on there, but you can gift them on the computer. Isn't that so crazy? That's how my life is. I have the iPad here because sometimes if you guys put a message in the chat and it'll have me approve it or have a mod approve it, I can only approve it from from my iPad. Then to do a poll for you guys, I have to go through YouTube StreamYard streaming. Then to do everything else, I'm in StreamYard, and to chat with you guys, I'm in StreamYard. So if you're ever on a creator's page and she gets a little messed up or he gets a little mixed up, that's probably why. Maybe we'll do like a certain day too where like I'll gift memberships. Like it'll be like a surprise though. Like, so we did it Saturday, I think. So maybe we'll do one here soon. I just like doing it because I just like seeing who gets it. It's like the lottery for me. This is probably not good. All of my money is going to go back into re-gifting memberships. Yeah, so that's what I was wanting to do too, Teresa. It was actually Isabel one time. I wanted to gift a membership to her. And so Vincent kept trying. He literally gifted like 40 memberships trying just to get Isabel to get picked. Like, we just wanted her to get picked so bad because it was like right when I was like starting the memberships and she was always in the chat, and it was just somebody I wanted to get her, I wanted to get her one. And I knew we were going to do members only live, and she's a mod and I wanted her to be in it. And so, so they won't let you actually like pick it. It bases it on who has been like in your chat and who's been like talking and kind of like communicating with you, which everybody in here, if they've been like, you guys have all been pretty consistent. So I don't see why I wouldn't like pick like the right people. Do you know what I mean? But I do love that it is. And then make sure if like it'll pop up and it'll say allow gifts and you just have to click yes. So I'm beginning to learn a little bit, but I'll go ahead and start playing this here. And it's an hour long. I'm not going to stop it too much, but I will stop it here and there. So maybe they won't zap me too hard.
Hi guys, we are joining you live outside the...
I'm stopping it already. Okay, because I think Nancy right here, she looks good. Nancy needs to have her hair like blowing in the wind, no hairspray. It's always so sprayed. You know what I mean? Like I like her makeup. I'm liking Nancy. I'm feeling Nancy today. I'm feeling her.
Colleton County Courthouse.
Oh, there's an echo. I'll mute my mic.
Where people are streaming out for the lunch break. We're inching forward toward the end of the defense case, but there was a bombshell at the very beginning of the morning. Take a listen to our cut 4.
We believe it would be useful for the jury to visit Mozelle, both the area in the area of the kennels and the house, just to get some understanding of spatial relationships. And so what we would ask is that you ask the jury if they want to do that. I mean, I know I wouldn't, if they don't want to do it, I don't want them to do it. If they want to do it, that'd be fine with me, and it needs to be done in an expeditious way.
The state is not asking for there to be a jury view of the scene, and if anything, I think that that would require additional testimony because the scene is different than it existed on the night of June 7th, 2021. Generally, jury views are at the request of a party, and
I'm requesting.
Again, I don't know that it's necessary in this particular instance.
If either side wants a jury view, the court will arrange a jury view.
Okay, there you have it. Straight out to high-profile criminal defense attorney joining us from the Pepper Law Firm, Mark Pepper. Mark, thank you for being with us. This conjures up images of the O.J. Simpson jury view of his home, where my former co-anchor, God rest his soul, Johnny Cochran, and his team had gone through and carefully rearranged everything.
I forgot to actually mention something to you before. I don't know if they'll mention it. I listened to this a little bit, and I can't remember if she mentioned it or not, but let me see if I can find Brian Eaton's post real quick. So Brian Eaton, I know I say his name wrong, but he did say today, it says up here at 6:40, just a little bit ago, the media covering the Murdaugh trial will not be allowed at the Mozelle property. While jurors are there viewing it, only the judge, attorneys, a court reporter, and the jury will be allowed. So I guess we won't be able to see anything good. Unless there's somebody there that's going to record it through the courts, But I wanted to show you guys that real quick.
In the home to make it more palatable to the jurors. What do you think about viewing Mozelle now? So much time has passed since the incident.
You have to include a lot of picture frames of the family, as I recall, in the stairwell. Good analogy there, Nancy. This is pretty typical in our state. Here in South Carolina, relevance simply means will help the fact finder determine what the facts are. And so typically when any side or either side or both ask the court to allow the jury to visit the scene, the judge is going to allow it, as he did this morning. I guess on one hand, if you're the state, it helps show how far away the main house is, in the theory that clearly those 258 steps was you hiking all the way back up that hill. On the defense, maybe they're looking at it a different way, in that the close proximity of the kennel to the feed room, grabbing two separate guns, it's just not possible to have conjured all this. And then you've got the growing of the trees, right? Now we're going to get a jury charge on, well, shrubs and trees may have grown since then. This is all about the defense trying its best to do two things, in my opinion, Nancy. One is just confuse the jury. Just confuse them. Let's take them on a field trip. Let's let them out. Let's get some credibility with them and make sure that we continue to hammer the credibility of the state's witness. We kind of thought Dick Harpootlian might have something up his sleeve this week. I'm not so sure that this is the last trick, but certainly a good move by the defense.
Mark Pepper, I agree with everything that you just said. Got a question. How many times have you taken a jury out to see a scene?
Zero.
Agreed.
It's just...
Agreed. And you know why?
Rare.
You know why? It's fraught. Why? It is fraught with possibilities for a mistrial. You go by one nut on the highway with a sign that says, Murdaugh did it. Honey, it's over. Or you go by a protest or however it may be staged saying the other way. Now, the state doesn't really have a lot of room to ask for a mistrial, but the defense does. So this will all be to their advantage. And what you were touching on, I found very interesting, Mark Pepper, in that the scene is not as it was the night of the shootings. Time has passed. Shrubs may have been added, removed. I believe somebody else owns it now. It's completely different than the way it was the night of the shootings. And in my mind,
in my opinion, I feel like they don't want another circus, like kind of like Phantasmatic Ether said. Just like remember in the beginning of the trial when they had food vendors and people were set up outside the courthouse, like it was a carnival. Carnival's coming to to town. That's they, and they just want to take the jury out there, let them just see it. We don't need to see it. We're not part of that information if we don't need to be. But I would have liked to have seen what it looks like now. That would have been nice. But yeah, no, they're going to have a bunch of security there. The judge said that nobody will be on the property when the jurors are there. And that judge is not, he's not done us dirty yet. I like him. He's a good guy. I think he'll make sure that there's law and order. Now, I feel like if there were news cameras allowed there, that would create a lot of chaos, a lot more chaos than what they really need. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, the carnival has started. Yeah, it's there. I wonder when they take the jury, I wonder how far the courthouse is to Mozelle. Are they just going to take a whole day off of jury? Like, they won't play anything, or will we be staring at a wall? Because that's going to take time to bust them up, to get a bus, to bus them over there, to get them all out of the bus, get everybody situated, show them the property, put them back on, take them over. I don't know. It's just crazy. Yeah, the defense was they were reaching real far when they were talking today. When he was talking about they're taking selfies out there, they're doing this, that, and the other. I'm just like, wow. He has to be the man with the last word, I feel like. Oh, you heard about 20 minutes? Oh, okay. So that's not too far away. But maybe they will take a half a day then, and then half a day in court. I don't know. Oh, this judge is a worker. He done got his pay. He should be on. After this trial, he should get a paid vacation wherever him and his wife or, husband, whoever, wherever they want to go. Because chef's kiss, I love that guy. I mean, he's a great great judge. I wish he was a judge in every case. I really do. He keeps the court very calm, very patient judge.
That distorts their view of the evidence because they're seeing something that is not necessarily based in the evidence.
But isn't that the whole point here, Nancy, right? I mean, what if there's a footprint that a
Yes.
juror picks up on that says, wait a minute, we haven't seen a picture of this footprint. We don't know whose footprint that is, right? The blood stains, oh, they said it was awful. It doesn't look bad to me. This is all an attempt to create confusion among the jurors. Great point as far as getting to and from Mozelle. We're talking a rural community in southwest South Carolina. I mean, you're going to be passing more cornfields and cows than you are people. However, if the people know the field trip is coming by, don't think for 1 second that there won't be some type of sign or thumbs up. I mean, this is going to turn into the spectacle, the circus show that the defense has wanted all along. And another point, great point you brought up, we've got some serious appellate issues here already. We've got the 404B stuff that came in, right? Didn't come in, but then it did come in.
No,
after we
wait. Talk plain English. He's talking about you've got the cousin Eddie evidence, which is going to be a
That's
problem.
right. The character
Either
evidence.
a problem because it was let in or a problem because the defense can now claim, if there's a conviction, of course, ineffective assistance of counsel for, I believe it was Griffin, that opened the door. One of the defense attorneys opened the door to that. So if there's a conviction, while Murdaugh right now is very thankful to all of his lawyers, after he sits in jail for a year or two, I can see him filing an appeal or even a habeas corpus when the time is right on ineffective assistance of counsel if everything else fails because of that one question.
What else does he have to do if he's sentenced to life? Right?
Nothing.
He's going to file something. And you not only have ineffective assistance of counsel, which you told that while you go through the appellate process. That'll be the last straw I think he brings. But certainly he's going to challenge any conviction based on the legal rulings that were made. That he feels prejudiced him. I mean, look, this is a circumstantial case. We've seen the evidence. We haven't heard an eyewitness. We haven't heard any fingerprints or footprints, as we just heard that witness testify today. This is a circumstantial case. And so can't you see the jury sitting back there going, I'm not sure he did this, but man, he is a bad person based on what we've heard. So let's just go ahead and convict. That is an appellate issue that is ripe for appeal.
Mark Pepper, when you said that the law in South Carolina is that jurors go see the scene, it is very common, but you've never done it, and you've tried a lot of cases. Now, I never tried a case without going to the scene myself, ever, never, never. That's a rule one in trial advocacy is you go to the scene yourself, and if you can't get to the scene, you need to quit trying cases. End of story. But it would be a cold day in HELL that I would want my jury to go there. Not that I'm hiding evidence. It's just that things will have changed. It's the time of the incident, and you never know what may hang up a juror. I mean, for all I know, a building has been built. I tried cases in inner city Atlanta. If a building had been built or some obstruction had been created since the time of the incident, the jurors would think, well, wow, the witness couldn't see that because of this shrub. So long story short, it is fraught with peril. Guys, I'm hearing in my ear, I am now being joined by Kelly Skien, Fox Nation's senior producer, who's been in the courtroom with me the entire morning. Kelly, this is the end of the defense case. They may have one or two more witnesses left. Do you know if these are the final two witnesses or will there be two additional witnesses?
Hi, Nancy. We are expecting at least two more witnesses from the defense, as well as that visit to Mozelle, the murder scene, as we have been hearing about. But what we also heard this morning is that the defense still expects to rest its case today. So we are expecting two more witnesses. It's to be seen whether that is more of Alec Murdaugh's family members. We have been expecting his brothers to take the stand, at least one of them.
Kelly, you know who I like? Don't know her personally, but I like Savannah Good in the courtroom. She finally, during the direct examination of some of these witnesses, stood up and said, leading. And she actually kept, I love this part. I had to write it down verbatim. When Hartputlian was trying to get in, as we call it in the law, Kelly, a learned treatise. That's a book. I don't know why. Mark Pepper, why do we keep calling it a learned treatise? It's a book.
Just call it what it is.
It seems like
It's a
lawyers
book.
come up with every I know it. Seems like, Kelly, lawyers come up with every word possible to make things more confusing. But it was a learned treatise. It was a book, and it's a really good book. It's written by an incredible expert in the criminal field. But he wanted to submit the book or portions of the book into evidence. Well, no, I've never seen that done. I've handled literally thousands of cases, plus reported on I don't know how many, because it's all hearsay. It's what some author that is not there in the courtroom for cross-examination, it's what they say, and it may be accurate, but it is hearsay. And I loved it, Kelly Skin, when I guess one of his helpers handed him the law on a learned treatise. And he said, no, it should come in, Your Honor. And he started reading it, and the end of the sentence was, shall not come into evidence and will be excluded. And he went, well, I'm not entering that. I bet somebody gets a chewing out at the lunch break for handing him that law, Kelly Skin. Have I lost
Yeah,
Kelly?
Nancy, today-
Kelly, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, that was the question to you.
I'm there.
About when Harpootlian tried to get that book in. Remember, we were sitting there and Harpootlian tried to get a book into evidence, and he was reading the law that one of his helpers had given him. And at the end of the sentence, it said, learned treatises shall be excluded and not be allowed into evidence. So he had to backpedal pretty quickly in the courtroom. Did you see that, Kelly Skin? Take two.
Yes, Nancy, I saw that, and we did see Savannah Good stand up and say, this is hearsay. You cannot admit this into evidence. The guy who wrote the book is not here on the stand. He is not here to testify.
You know, the state is questioning them fairly well, I think, on cross-examination. But Kelly explained these two witnesses. It's Dr. Eisenstadt and Tim Palmbach. Who are they and what is their point? Let's take the doctor first, the pathologist.
Yeah, Nancy, we've seen a big back and forth in the courtroom today between witnesses. This was to be expected. The defense is trying to poke holes in the prosecution's case. Today we heard from Tim Palmbach. He is a forensic scientist. And then we also heard from, I'm looking at my notes, there are many witnesses to keep track of, Dr. Jonathan Eisenstadt. And basically, they're trying to poke holes in the prosecution's case about from which direction Maggie and Paul were shot, and which shots were the fatal wounds. They're, you know, last week or the week before that, we heard that the defense said this was a 5-2 shooter. Today, we're also hearing that Paul was shot in the top of the head. So I think you see a lot of confusion on the jury's face trying to reconcile what they're hearing from the prosecution, what they're hearing from the defense.
Well, Kelly, that's a really good point you just brought out. I heard that, and I was wondering if the jury could connect all the dots with so much evidence pouring out. But if you caught it, and I caught it between the two of us, Kelly, certainly somebody on that jury caught it, because that witness was suggesting that the shooter was taller or in an elevated position when they took aim. And that's exactly diametrically opposed to the whole defense theory. Remember the little green man and the green trajectory pass that they used to convince the jury of the double shooter motif? And we're seeing the double shooter motif in theory rearing its ugly head yet again for the state. And this time they've got experts to back it up. You know, joining me is Dan Corsentino, Dr. Heidi Sievers, and Dr. Michelle Dupree. But first to you, Dr. Michelle Dupree, you have been listening to Eisenstadt's testimony throughout. Bottom line, where is he going? What is the point of his testimony?
Well, Nancy, I think that it's actually to, again, discredit part of Dr. Reimer's testimony and bring up the two-shooter theory. I don't think he's doing a very good job. I think there are holes in what he has said as well. One of those being he admitted that there were pellet defects on the top of the door or something. I have never, in all of my years of practice, ever seen pellets bounce backwards. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I got to tell you something about Dr. Jonathan Eisenstadt. He has certainly done a lot of autopsies. I was ready to write down everything wrong about his curriculum vitae, but I'm telling you, anybody that is a medical examiner in inner city Atlanta, they have seen plenty of autopsies. He was doing between 100 and 250 autopsies a year. Now, I did notice that he has left and he is now doing a consulting practice. And also, as usual, and of course, we would expect nothing less, Pepper, he was cross-examined on how much money he's making, and he's making a lot of money. I mean, thousands of dollars. With that,
Yep.
of course, the state's going to argue that that would taint his testimony.
Well, I thought Savannah did as good a job as she could. There's really not a whole lot to challenge him on, but make sure the jury understands he's a paid expert, not by the state, but by Murdaugh over here. He's a jukebox. You put,
Well, hold
in this
on
case,
just a minute.
$10,000 in
Pepper,
the jukebox, he spits out
Pepper.
what you say.
I take it you have handled murder cases, have you not?
Yes, I have.
How many times have you seen a rectal thermometer stuck up a dead victim's rear end? There's really no nice way to put it.
There's not, and that's
Have
why
you?
the answer is zero. Zero. You don't put a rectal thermometer
That's
into
what
evidence
I'm
in any murder
saying.
case. I know. Yeah.
I
Well-
mean, okay. Guys, look, you're here because we're trying a murder case and it's happening right behind me. And that was the testimony today. One of the first things they did, Dr. Michelle Dupree, thank goodness I wrote down all these notes, was jump on the state because they didn't use a rectal thermometer on the two dead bodies. Really?
That's right.
Because
That's right, Nancy.
they made a play at the fact that the investigators felt the armpit, and as I recall, and Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, it was still warm. So if the body is still warm, I don't have to have a medical degree to tell me that the murder.
Has anyone, I mean, I know that we don't see crimes like every day, but we've watched enough crime shows to know, and I went to school for criminal justice to know, you don't check somebody's temperature underneath their armpit when they're dead. The best accurate reading you're going to get is from their liver temperature, but you wouldn't stick the thermometer underneath of their armpit. I am so blown away by that. That's just one thing you probably wouldn't do. Yeah, I just ended the poll. Yeah, Alex is in trouble with during our according to our poll. It was 84% of us thinking he's guilty. I'll have to do another one here in a minute. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting that they tested underneath the armpit.
Was recent, Dr. Dupree. Now listen, you're the MD, I'm just a JD. But I can tell you, I have never had a single case where a medical examiner used a rectal thermometer up the dead body. No, never.
Nancy, you're exactly right. I have never used a rectal thermometer. I have used a thermometer in the liver, which is much more accurate. I have never, and has no one that I've ever known that has been trained as a forensic pathologist or medical examiner, put our hand in the armpit. That is absolutely not scientific. There's no forensic basis for that. Yes, it tells you that the body is warm, but it doesn't tell you how warm. And again, there are many variables. And as you well know, the time of death is very much a variable. There are many other factors like livor mortis, rigor mortis, and all of those things.
Well, can I ask you a question, Dr. Dupree? And be blunt.
Sure.
I don't have you on the stand. You're not on the oath. You can say whatever you feel like saying. But don't we have them alive and well at about, help me out, Kelly, 8:47 p.m. on that video that
Their
Paul
phones
took?
went dead at
And don't we
8:49.
have them? Man, you've got it together, Kelly Ski, and I'm glad you're here. Okay, 8:49. And you know what? Those 2 minutes, I said 8:47, she said 8:49, they matter. They absolutely matter in this case. And then by 10 o'clock, when he gets back, 10:06, he calls 911. We can pretty much establish the time of death between 8:49 and 10:06. Don't you agree with that, Dr. Dupree?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Nancy. And a thermometer at that point is not going to make a difference.
No, it is not. You're having a murder go down on June 7. It's hot as Hades in South Carolina, and the bodies are still warm, and you have a timeline between 8:49, basically 9 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. So we've got it narrowed down to an hour. So all this rigmarole about the rectal thermometer, oh, you know, speaking of rectal thermometers, and I've certainly never said that sentence before, but speaking of rectal thermometers, back to you, Dr. Michelle Dupree. Again, thank you so much for being with us. And she's not just a pathologist. She is not just a forensic expert. She's also a former detective. When you are trying to analyze a crime scene and there is blood spatter everywhere, do you really think it's appropriate to manhandle the body, yank the pants down, and do a rectal thermometer take?
No, Nancy, I do not. And again, I honestly don't know anyone that has actually done that. That is not the way that we're trained. If we're going to take the temperature, if there is some need to know the specific amount of temperature, then we use a thermometer in the liver, not in the rectum.
How do you get a thermometer in the liver?
You push it through the skin to the liver.
Okay, I had not thought of that. Guys, with me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. All you've heard so far is we're going to Mozelle and threatening a mistrial in doing so, and you've heard a lot about rectal thermometers. Joining me is Dr. Heidi Sievers, founder of Sievers Forensics. She's an expert in bloodstain patterns. What did you make of what was being said about the blood spatter evidence? I still don't see how they're making the conclusion that there were two shooters. What do you make of it, Dr. Sievers?
So one, I think that it was a ploy, just like we've been discussing, about poking holes in the state's case and trying to confuse the jury. This is starting to become the personification of the classic CSI effect of, one, going back out to the scene. The jurors are going to expect for that scene to somewhat be memorialized, even though obviously it's not going to be. They are going to expect to see the things that they've been discussing. Further, really what I've been hearing all this morning is what I call trigger words when it comes to bloodstain pattern analysis. And those are words that the jury has probably heard in the media or on television shows, but honestly, some of them are being used incorrectly and somewhat flippantly. And although they can have other connotations, they're being used in the wrong manner. And in this case, that terminology makes a difference when we're looking at these. And further, when he was discussing the amount of spatter on that door as what he called blowback, or what's termed back spatter, the height of that, he actually, I'm not sure he realized he was doing it, but just like with that higher shot on a taller person, he actually implicated that that would have been a taller person, with the amount of spatter only being at the top left-hand corner of that door.
Okay, you know what? I was trying to drink in everything that you just said. Can you say it one more time? Because I want everybody else on the panel to weigh in on what you just said about the blood spatter. Go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. So first and foremost, some of the words that are being used are what I term trigger words when it comes to bloodstain patterns. And they're words that are commonly seen in television shows and in the media. But in this case, and from what I've been hearing in testimony, some of them are being used flippantly. And when it comes down to it, they matter. Using them in the correct context matters. And further, the first witness that was on the stand suggested that the shooter was taller, and when they were talking about they termed it blowback, but the back spatter that deposited on the door in the upper left-hand corner and creating that void of the shooter, they actually, unbeknownst to them, I'm not sure they realized they did it, but they actually implicated it being a much taller shooter to block that door, only with the exception of the top left-hand corner of the door.
Hold on, I'm writing that down. Kelly Skian, did you hear what Dr. Heidi Sievers just said? They did. She's right, and she articulated it so perfectly. Kelly, they implicated a much taller shooter. Can you finish the rest of that, Dr. Sievers?
Yeah, they implicated a much taller shooter because they discussed the voided area, which a void is simply just the absence of a continuous bloodstain pattern. So an absence of blood where we would expect there to be blood. So in the essence of the back spatter, which was evidence at the top left-hand corner of that door, we see that voided area, which is most likely where the shooter was standing. But because it's in such a small and very high up area, very tall area at the top left-hand corner, they really seemingly implicated a much taller individual.
A way I would explain it to the jury
Nancy,
is if Sydney was standing there and she had a giant bowl of tomato soup and threw it at me, it would hit all around me on the wall behind me, but there would be a void that you hear Dr. Sievers talking about where I'm standing. That's an easy way to explain the accurate discussion that Dr. Heidi Sievers just gave you. Hey, Kelly, was that you? Go ahead.
It was. So something really important that hasn't been mentioned today. So the defense is essentially saying that Paul was shot at the top of the head and that went out of his shoulder. The prosecution said no way, it went through his shoulder and through the top of the head. And what we haven't heard about today is that there is damage to the door that was above Paul's head, indicating that he was shot, as the prosecution stated, going from the shoulder to his head, and not as the defense stated, where the gun was pushed directly onto his head. Because if he was shot on the head, you wouldn't have damage on the door frame above his head.
You know what? You're so right. And that is something that everyone can understand, and it makes perfect sense. So what they're doing today is they're somewhat telling the jury, insinuating to the jury that the shooter is tall. Murdaugh is about 6'3", or so we think. Dan Corsentino joining me, former police chief, former sheriff, served on U.S. Homeland Security, Senior Advisory Board. He's a PI at dancorsentino.com. Dan, I want you to hear our SOT 7. Take a listen. This is Harpootlian direct examining the pathologist.
Okay, so when you look at the wound in his shoulder and his neck, and of course his head, tell us where Dr. Reamer got it wrong.
I think she has it reversed. If the entrance wound is here on the left shoulder, and we're saying that we're at least 3 to 4 feet away from there because we have no soot, we have no stippling on the skin, then by the time it gets to the left side of the chin, or over here at the angle of the mandible, the jaw, we've lost a lot of energy. And so, yes, you can get some pellets still going up into the head, but you're not going to have the top of the head completely blown off. And if you look at the photograph here, you can see he's missing the top of his skull. That would not have happened 3 feet or further shotgun wound coming in on the left side.
Okay, hold on, Dan Corsentino. I want Dr. Michelle Dupree to take a stab at that, and then I want to hear from you what you think their strategy is right now, why they're asking the questions they are asking, and what they're trying to tell the jury. What do you make of that, though, as a medical examiner and pathologist, Dr. Dupree?
Well, Nancy, I've actually had cases where the top of the head was blown off when the shotgun was 3 feet or so away. And again, it depends on so many things. What is what we call the choke on that shotgun? What is the length of the barrel? All of those kinds of things. But I do not believe that this was a contact wound to the back of the head. The rest of the trajectory just doesn't make sense.
Dan Corsentino, what is their theory? They're making a huge big deal about the double guns. That one shooter had double guns. And Dan Corsentino, you're perfect for this question. They're at the end of the testimony of the second witness. The witness was actually telling the jury that after killing one person, that would have been Paul, that the shooter would have been so stunned that they couldn't shoot another person. Maggie. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because I have had multiple cases of homicide with multiple victims at the hands of one shooter.
And I will say this too, it's not hard to carry two firearms at the same time. My brother's a hunter. My nephews are hunters. They all go hunting together. They do it all the time. You know, if they want to take a rifle, a shotgun with them or whatever, two guns, they can take them. I don't understand why they're making such a big deal about it. I understand why, if Alec did these crimes, that was a smart move, because, people are going to assume that it was two people that committed this crime if there's two guns. But the way that the bodies are positioned, you could definitely shoot and then shoot the other person. And you could tell that I think Maggie was running away as well. So, and I think maybe with the tire impression, he might have been sitting on the vehicle when he shot her or whatever. But what if maybe at one point in the evening, like right before all this happened, they were talking and she was leaning against it? Do you know, like just like leaning, like with her back up against it, and maybe her leg got rubbed on it? I don't know. So.
Frankly and sadly, it happens all the time. But the defense witness actually told the jury that the shooter would have been so shell-shocked and so covered with matter that he could not get another gun and pull the trigger. And I have a legal term written by that, BS. I'm sure you're familiar with that, Dan Corsentino.
Yeah, absolutely. Nancy, and first of all, thank you. I completely disagree with the defense expert in this situation because of the fact that we've had many cases where one shooter had multiple victims, and I agree with you. And the fact that the victim, or the shooter in this case, would have been stunned or had a temporary thought process that was completely clouded, I don't buy that whatsoever. I think the mindset of the
Sorry, I just realized something. If that were the case, if he were so stunned when he killed Paul, he would have been stunned the first time he shot his son. When he shot him the first time and Paul was still alive and able to stand there for a few minutes before he collapsed, I mean, if you were that stunned on what you did, you would have dropped your weapon right then and been like, oh my God, and you would have went and got your kid help. I don't believe that stunned had anything to do with it. If anything, I know that he was an avid user of oxys, so maybe he got himself a couple Xanax for that night to calm his nerves, calm himself down a little bit. And that'll make everything kind of slow down a little bit too. So maybe he was able to do all this stuff and not be in a frenzy.
Shooter at this point in time was clearly to shoot both individuals, and that individual clearly knew what the job was for the long-term gain. And as far as trying to cloud the jury, I think that's all that the defense is trying to do in this, is just to throw mud on this case. Because in totality, they're going to take a look at the very basics of this case. Was there motive? Was there opportunity? Was there ability? And does the science match those components? And I think that it's becoming clear. What's really interesting is the maturation of the jurors. They come into this case with a blank chalkboard or an empty journal, and they start now to compartmentalize everything the prosecution and defense is saying. And they're going to reach a conclusion, which I think is going to be not surprising to many.
You know, Mark Pepper, listening to Corsentino, he lays it out so plainly. I mean, I don't know what I would even cross on this, because it is absurd to tell a jury or make a statement that one person will be so discombobulated and so shell-shocked they can't kill two people at once. It happens every day. I don't even know how many cases I've handled where there are multiple crime victims at the hands of one shooter.
I get it. Right. But let me play devil's advocate just a bit using some of what I've heard and analyzed the last 2-3 minutes. One is I totally agree with the expert panelist, the doctor, with the blowback and the void, if you will. What they're trying to accomplish, the defense, is they've moved on from this low-lying shooter that was a 12-year-old or what. They're just saying, look, we're going to stick to our theme that there's no possible way Alec Murdaugh murdered his wife and son, as evidenced by the fact that you heard from 2 witnesses today, and this is them talking, not me, just making the argument, okay, that this shooter or shooters would have been covered in matter, in blood. You got the bullet that goes, the pellet that goes way up. Maybe it makes sense to a juror. May not make sense to our panelists here or me or you, but it might with one juror. And it takes 2 to tango, but it only takes 1 to hang it up. And that's really what the defense is doing. They're going to run all this back through and spit it out, and in closing say, if you believe any of what we said, then you believe it's impossible that this man would have done this to his own flesh and blood. That's going to be their theory here.
And I agree with Mark. I agree with what Mark.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with Mark saying they're trying to raise reasonable doubt. There's no doubt about that. So if we look at the totality of the circumstances in this, that's the question. Do they raise reasonable doubt based on everything?
Well, Nancy,
you know,
also,
I'm curious too, Dr. Michelle Dupree, regarding the entry and exit wounds on Paul's body. That is elementary. You can, even I, who am just a lawyer, can look at a wound and tell an entry from an exit. Could you please explain? That's very plain to the naked eye.
Absolutely, Nancy. And again, there are many things that we look at. Typically, the entrance wound is smaller than the exit wound. Not always, but in this case, I think that it would be. But we also look for something called an abrasion rim. When a bullet goes into a body, it does stretch the skin, and the abrasion ring is on the side that tells us the trajectory from where the bullet came. One of the witnesses was talking about skin tags, and that's basically sort of the same thing. It's going to tell us where that projectile came from, and it will help us determine that trajectory. And also, when we talk about Maggie and being 2 shooters, do you really think that a second shooter who is just waiting there to shoot Maggie is going to shoot her in the leg and 2 other places before the final last 2 shots, the fatal shots? Those were number 4 and 5. That doesn't make sense either. You want your first shot to be the kill shot.
You know what? You're right. And that is exactly what's being advanced in the courtroom. Guys, we were telling you about Paul's injuries and how that is being used by the experts on the stand. Take a listen to our cut 5 now.
This depicts Maggie's body on the autopsy table. And when we're doing our measurements on a body, that's how we're looking at the body, lying on her back or on the person's back on the autopsy table. Here is that wound with the left ear and the left chin, and here's her left breast. And then right above this wound here, we have that semicircle, which is consistent with the earring.
So this is the shot you would disagree with Dr. Reamer about?
Yes, this is the only shot I disagree with. She stated that it was going upwards.
It would have entered the breast and then gone up?
Right. When we look closer at the breast and we look closer at the left side of the chin, skin tags are pointing upwards, showing that that's where the bullet came from. It just seems very odd that when you have one going this way, you have to be in a very bizarre position to be able to get it to go up. But from the scientific standpoint, it's how the wound looks.
Okay, and as far as what they're doing in the courtroom, Mark Pepper, it's always a good thing to get your witness off the witness stand and down in the well in front of the jury.
That's right. That's right. You want to make them personable, somebody they can relate to. You get lost in the sauce when you just hear yes, no questions from somebody sitting 10, 12 feet away. Anytime you can pull a witness off, anytime you can hand them a pointer or an easel or an exhibit that they can stand in front of the jury, that's their show. I mean, the jury then makes eye contact with this witness and judges their credibility versus forgetting what the heck they said because it was the day before or the day before that. They're going to remember that testimony tonight. They're going to remember the testimony of anybody that stands 2 feet in front of them. This is a very tiny courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina. Everybody's on top of each other. And so when you get a chance to bring a witness down and look these jurors in the eye, it's likely to leave an impact. It's exactly why both the state and the defense continuously bring their witnesses down. Great point.
Nancy.
Guys, yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, so also when we're talking about Maggie's wound to the head, you heard it described as a keyhole injury, and that is something that is a very definitive forensic pathology description, and it's an entrance and exit in a skull that typically has beveling, which again we heard talked about, and that clearly tells us which is the entrance and which is the exit side of that wound. It's basically a tangential in and out almost, and that is what was described by Dr. Reamer.
Guys, also, the witnesses are testifying through a certain lens, the lens of high dollar payments to the witnesses. Now, does that make them less believable in the eyes of the jurors? I don't know. But I can tell you this, a state's witness is on a salary. They don't get a bonus or a raise if they go testify in a case. As compared to the tens of thousands of dollars these witnesses are being paid. Take a listen to our Cut 9.
Dr. Reamer performed the autopsy here.
Yes, ma'am.
And she performed an independent autopsy.
She did.
Did you perform an autopsy of either of the victims in this case?
I did not.
And you relied on, I think you testified that Dr. Reamer's report, x-rays, crime scene photos, and autopsy photos in determining your opinion.
That's correct.
And you were hired, right?
Yes, I was.
And you were here on Friday, weren't you?
I was.
So that would mean you've made over $10,000 in evaluating or taking part in this case.
At the end of the day, that's correct.
To Dr. Heidi Severs. Dr. Severs, of course, independent experts are going to be paid. And that's neither here nor there, except, you know, if they were not going to say what the defense wanted them to say, they would not be called as an expert. But what do you make of the testimony regarding blood stains, regarding the stains on the door, the blood spatter? A lot was made toward the end of the testimony of the second witness about a bloody footprint. And the witness, who is Tim Paulbach, tried to suggest to the jurors that it was the killer's footprint, or the killer's plural footprint, until on cross, Savannah Good said, they didn't give you the report that that's Paul's footprint. And he said, no, I didn't see that. That had to hurt.
Yeah, that was a rough blow for him, certainly. Well, first, just like I was saying a little bit earlier with those trigger words is what I call it. So first and foremost with the door, he had mentioned that it had downward, what he called trajectory, but we use the term directionality. So that it had downward directionality, suggesting that it had that little bit of a fountain effect as it came up over the shooter's shoulder and deposited downward. But from the photos I've seen, what I think he's terming as that is actually what we would call more of a gravity flow stain. When you're dealing with something of that proportion when it comes with velocity, as well as the amount of biological material being pushed back, right, or the back spatter back towards the shooter, it's going to be too much for the surface tension to just stick right on that door. So it's going to start to flow downwards, and I think he's using that as what he's calling trajectory or directionality. And that has nothing to do with the way it was deposited. It has everything to do with the weight of that biological material, whether it be blood or brain matter, sliding down that door as a result of gravity. So that's first and foremost that I noticed, because there is directionality of those stains going upward with what you would expect from a shot going up from the shoulder through the head up towards the door, which, if you notice, follows the path of those indentations in the door and the small pellets in the door frame, right? It's all going to follow that.
I've got another.
Yeah.
I've got another expert here. She's a T-shirt expert, apparently. What's your name?
Kathy Lee.
Okay. Don't trust your soul to no backwoods Southern lawyer. Okay. There are now T-shirts, just so you know. Thank you.
My best friend bought her this T-shirt, and it's all over the world now.
Thank you. I just had. Thank you. So apparently there are Murdaugh T-shirts now. Just wanted everybody to know that. They're all around the courthouse. And to you, Mark Pepper, that's exactly what I'm talking about a mistrial when the jury leaves the bubble of the courtroom.
Increasing the chance, without a doubt. I think we're going to have a mistrial here anyway, because I don't think there's going to be a unanimous verdict. But if there is, we're running the risk of mistrial, appeals, you name it, and putting them on a bus for a field trip. I mean, we're going to do a bag lunch too. And I mean, we curfew. They're going to be allowed to talk to each other, because obviously that's not allowed. There's another mistrial. We're going down a slippery slope here. I agree.
And when Mark Pepper says, hey guys, he's a high-profile defense attorney joining us out of this jurisdiction, the Pepper Law Firm, when he says the jurors can't talk to each other, what we mean by that is they can't talk about the case with each other.
Right.
They can say, hi, what did you do this weekend? What time, how far away do you live? What, do you have a family? They can talk about that. But how long is that going to last? How long till somebody says, what is Murdaugh eating at the defense table? What is that cracking sound? You know, they're going to talk about the case, and then there's going to be a mistrial. Guys, I want to get off of the T-shirt and off of the candy cracking at the defense table. I want you to take a listen to our cut 10, and this is more about the blood spatter. Why is it important? Because today, with their own witnesses, the defense is seemingly suggesting that they themselves were all wrong about the short shooter. Actually, the shooter is tall.
And wasn't the top of Paul's skull missing?
Yes, it was.
And Paul's face, it wasn't blown off, was it?
It was not.
His brains weren't splattered all over the floor?
His brain left his head and ended up being on the floor. There were some smaller pieces in other areas and then a large piece in one area.
Does that brain look macerated or splattered everywhere?
No, but that brain has been extruded from the head. But when you zoom in on it, you can tell that there's injury to the brain. But the brain, yes, I agree, it's not macerated.
Is that blood spatter on top of the door?
That looks like blood spatter at the top of the door, yes.
And no blood spatter out there on the sidewalk from his brain being blown out from his head and his face being left intact, right?
Right, the brain would come out the top of the head.
And the blood spatter is on the top of the door.
Right, that's blowback. That's from here, the pressure pushing it backwards.
You know, Kelly's skin, they keep mentioning that the shooter would have to be covered in bodily fluid, blowback blood. Well, that just backs in, that rear ends into the state's theory that Murdaugh then went in and took a shower and changed clothes.
It does beg the question of, did Murdaugh go take a shower after shooting Maggie and Paul? We still do not know that. It's unconfirmed, but that seems like the picture that the prosecution is trying to paint with testimony thus far. And it also seems like the defense is shooting themselves in the foot, in a sense, with these witnesses today who have conceded on the stand that, yes, the shooter could have been taller than Maggie and Paul. So it's in direct contradiction to what we were hearing from them last week, that the shooter is 5 feet 2 inches tall.
Well, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't there been testimony that Murdaugh was wearing one outfit in the afternoon, one outfit when the cops got there, and there was a pool of water by the shower in the Mozelle property bathroom, and there was a damp towel, and his shirt that he was wearing that afternoon has never been recovered? That, to me, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. He took a shower.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about the outfit changes. We've heard a lot about what clothes was he wearing that night. He keeps clothes in his car. He keeps clothes at various different people's homes. Where are the clothes that he was wearing that night?
Where's the blood? If he just saw his dead wife, dead son, let's say we're playing devil's advocate for a minute. He leaves Mozelle for 3 minutes to go home or wherever. Within 3 minutes, his wife and son are killed. He comes back and he finds the bodies. And then what does he do after that? Because he doesn't touch them, but he says that he checks their pulse. Oh, thank you for the super sticker. DMC Donald. Okay, that's the best I could do without 1955. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. Even if I were to see the person that I love, even if I were to know in my head that they were gone, because the evidence shows that, 5 bullets were in Maggie, Paul's top of his head was blown off, I still think that I would run over to them. Actually, I know I would. I would run over them and I would grab them, and I still probably check for a pulse because I wouldn't be in my right mind, but I would have blood everywhere. And you wouldn't be able to sit me in a vehicle like that without medication. They would have to call the ambulance, sedate me. I don't know. But he didn't touch the bodies. So he gets there and he goes, oh, someone did this to me. I better not touch anything. But I'm going to tell him I touched some stuff. And then this little key piece. Okay, so I have a question. Then why did he say he was never at Mozelle for the last year and a half? He has said, I was not there before finding the bodies. And then we get Snapchat video into evidence in the courtroom. And it was sent that night at that time because the person that received it came forward and said it was Alex's voice, Maggie's voice, and Paul's voice on that Snapchat video. So I just think there's a lot of stuff that's stacked up against him. Oh, he's still going away for the rest of his life. Pharmacy Girl said, let's just say he's actually not found guilty or found not guilty for the double murders in his upcoming financial case. How much time is he facing? I mean, he's going to be in there for the rest of his life, I feel like. And I don't know what he's going to do when he has to realize that he has that reality. Yeah, they weren't together very long. Yeah, Ashley, I'd be covered in blood too. I know I would. Or I'd be I know I would be covered in blood and then they'd find me doing circles or something in that wooded area. I wouldn't be on the phone with my brother. He would just know. I don't know how people know. Families just know. You don't need to call anybody. When you are in a situation like this and you're dealing with death, you don't need to call your brother, your sister, your brother's friends, cousins, next door neighbor, you know, you're trying to deal with yourself. I don't know. When, like, this is completely different, but when my father was killed in a car accident, I don't remember doing anything. I did call my best friend, but that was like hours and hours later, and that was only because my mom forced me to do it. It was something I wasn't thinking about doing. And the fake crying. Oh my Lord, yeah, Teresa, the fake crying. And the way he he just tries to get the tears out. He's been really trying on the stand to get them tears out. I will give him that. He's working overtime with the tears.
He took a shower.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about the outfit changes. We've heard a lot about what clothes was he wearing that night. He keeps clothes in his car. He keeps clothes at various different people's homes. Where are the clothes that he was wearing that night is a big, big, big question.
So, I mean, to me, Dan Corsentino, I don't know about you, be blunt, but that fits hand in hand with the fact that we believe that he went in and took a shower at some point.
Yeah, I believe that there's, circumstantial evidence to believe.
I just thought of this. At the least, he would have left the scene, because if our dude Murdaugh here, if he had a $50,000 a week drug habit, you know damn well he had pills on his person, and you know how he was always scared of the police before. So he probably left, took the pills home, changed his clothes, and then came back. Because I have a feeling that he would have had to have drugs on him that night. You don't leave your stash without you. You don't leave you know what I mean? You take some with you, or, you know, you're never without. So, oh, he said he had a pocket full of pills. Oh, well, actually, I didn't know that one. So there, yep. Well, there you have it. Guess he did have some.
That he went in and took a shower. I also believe that this was a planned event, and that it fits the pattern in its totality of all the other information that the prosecution is trying to bring out. And it starts with his own financial insolvency, and it evolves from there.
The only thing, Mark Pepper, is with the timeline so tight between that video for friend Rogan Gibson and immediately leaving for his mother's house, that doesn't give him time for a shower right there. But we know he changed clothes, and we know those clothes, that shirt has never been recovered, along with the murder weapons. So,
well,
another thing that really, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, murder weapon certainly has not been recovered, but there's still 2 witnesses left, Nancy, and I'm not so sure that seafoam green shirt that we've seen on the tree Snapchat is still missing. And I'm told that there may be one more trick up Dick's sleeve to show the lack of the investigation done by SLED. That's theme 1, right? Theme 2 is timeline, to your point. If today's testimony did anything for the defense to help them, it's to tighten the timeline up to where the state has already put it. You got an 846 Snapchat. Phones go dead at, I believe, 8:49, if I'm not mistaken. And then we know the cell phone starts at 10:06. Between 10:02 and 10:06, we got 258 steps. I don't know that the jury is going to think that there's enough time for him to have made it all the way back up to Mozelle, showered, disposed of the clothes, disposed of the weapons, and still be on his way to his parents' house. The defense better hope that the jury doesn't think that, because if they do, coupled with the financial, the 404B stuff we talked about earlier, then I think the defendant is in trouble.
Nancy.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way he could have taken the shower right there. Go ahead, Dr. Dupree.
So, Nancy, I think that it's much more likely that he may have taken a shower earlier that night, as evidenced by the clothes on the floor and the pool of water. But don't forget, the hose was unraveled and there was water there. What was to prevent him from showering off right there at the scene, having clothes in his car, ready to dispose of when he did go to his mother's house?
You know what? You're so right, Dr. Michelle Dupree. Kelly Scan.
He could have been airing himself out when he was going 80 miles per hour. You know, maybe he stripped down after the deed, you know, after if he did this. And then he sprayed himself off at the kennel, because I believe that's where I think he sprayed himself off at the kennel. A little water I think will get gunshot residue off. I don't think that it's like a big thing. I mean, I don't think it like sticks to you that much to where it's, you know, a little scrubbing probably wouldn't hurt. And he's probably pretty covered. And then I believe he probably just air dried or whatever, you know, put his clothes on. Yeah, I went to Mom's. Oh, sorry, I was reading your messages. I know I get like quiet sometimes. We can't put his finger on the trigger, but we could put him at the scene when he said for the last year and a half that he was never there. This just came out in court in the trial. His son had a video on his phone that his dad was unaware of. Bum, bum, bum. That's what I did whenever I found out, because that's some shit. Sorry, but that is. Because the thing is, he grabbed his son's phone and he thought that he probably looked through everything, but he didn't look through his Snapchat. And if you guys haven't been watching the trial, the reason why the Snapchat video came out was because Paul, you know, Alex's son, sent his friend Rogan or whatever his name is. I'm sorry, Rogan, a Snapchat video. He was trying to send him a video of his dog. He was watching his dog for him, watching his buddy's dog. Dog got hurt a little bit on the tail, so he wanted to send him a picture. Send him a video. Couldn't get the video to work, so they talked on the phone or something like along those lines, and then he was supposed to send him a picture of the tail. So that's when they know. I thought that they had it down to where it was only like a 3-minute gap where he would have left. I thought he said that on the stand too, that yes, that was correct. It would have been 3 minutes. He would have had to have left, came back within like 3 minutes, I heard. But I wasn't sure. Oh, drugs are everywhere, Karina. Oh, yeah, drugs are... I mean, they're the people you don't even think are doing them. They're everywhere.
We completely discounted what she just said about the water hose. And one of the first things that was noticed is the pools of water in the kennel. So that's I mean, there's no way he can fit a shower in after the shooting, get in the car, and we know what time he got in the car and started driving because it's on his navigation system from his Suburban. It's not time for a shower there. She's
Pools
right.
of water.
The shower was earlier in the day. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in pools of water that weren't tested, so we don't know what exactly was in that pool of water. Was Alec's DNA in that pool of water? And something else is we never heard from any of Alec Murdaugh's mother's caretakers. I'd be curious to know, was his hair wet when he showed up that night? Because we've heard today from the defense's witnesses that Alec would have a bunch of spatter in his thick hair. So if he did shower off using the hose at the kennels, was his hair wet when he showed up at his mom's house? I'd like to know.
That's a really good question. Go ahead.
Nancy, this is Dan, and I just have a comment. This case is extremely complicated in many ways. And I think one of the things leading to potential mistrial is the fact that will the jury be able to simplify this case and extract the science to put it into some believable judgment that they can make toward guilt or innocence. And certainly I can't speak for jurors. I don't know the jury IQ. I don't know where they come from, but I will say that when you get the little things, such as in the feeding room, if you will, and the defense expert is bringing out that the partial footprints in the blood and around the feed room, there should have been spray enhancements. If I'm sitting on a jury, I'm starting to ask questions about that. Why weren't the little things done in this?
Guys, I want you to hear a little bit more of the testimony. Now, in this juncture, you hear the witness actually agreeing with the state experts in our cut 12.
So I frankly think he was startled by that shot. Right shoulder was at the door. I mean, if he knew somebody was coming and or saw somebody coming, he would be facing the door or turning, trying to run, which he wouldn't have anywhere to go. But he was essentially facing this way, and the door is this way. I don't think he even perceived it until he was shot the first time. And you asked the question, did I see any defensive injuries or any indication of defensive actions on him or in the feed room? The answer is no.
What type of defensive indications have you seen in the past that would indicate that there was a struggle of some sort?
Well, I think obviously your hands always kind of come up, and his hands would be going up in the direction of the shooter and the weapon. His hands coming up means that he likely, they could have been injured. Certainly there could be gunshot residue distribution on them. That'd be the main difference.
So Kelly Skian, I think it's agreed all around that Paul never saw what was coming.
I don't think Paul or Maggie ever saw what was coming that night, no.
And that also suggests that if it were to be Murdaugh, that he could get up close to them in their proximity in that small area of the feed room, and they would not know what was about to happen, as opposed to an intruder that they had never seen before, someone coming up on them that would make them run. Kelly, what did you notice about the jurors? How did they appear to you?
Sure. So on that note, too, we also know from Alec Murdaugh's own testimony that he says no one else was there that night that shouldn't have been, and the dogs were not acting like there was a stranger around just 5 minutes before Maggie and Paul's phones went silent forever. I saw some very interesting body language from the jury today. They saw a lot of graphic autopsy photos, and a lot of them had various different reactions. One juror literally pulled a blanket up over her forehead. Others were looking down. Some were wincing, and others were like very intently looking at the screen in front of them. There were very, very graphic images. And I think something else that should be noted today, too, is that when Dick Harpootlian said he wanted the jury to go to Mozelle, he wanted the jury to vote on that. The judge said that's pretty unheard of. And also having the jury vote on whether or not to go to Mozelle opens the jury up to have conversations about the case before.
Sorry, I think I figured I would just pause it and I would comment on this comment. Okay, so we were talking about why he needed to go back to grab a shotgun, and this is what I thought it was for, but I wanted to make sure. He claims for protection after seeing the bodies. He grabbed a shotgun from the house and drove back to the kennels. If your wife and your son are killed and they're murdered and they're there, you're not going to leave and go get a shotgun and come back. You're going to get in your truck. You're going to call the police and let them handle it. I'm sorry, but Big Daddy Alec Murdaugh don't come to, he doesn't, I mean, I'm surprised that he would be such a badass to go grab a shotgun from his house and then we're going to come back and see if we could find the killer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think so. Like, he was a coward. You could tell, even we're not even talking about the murders. I'm just talking about his personality. From what I've seen, he is a coward with his financial crimes. Coward, stealing money from people that I didn't know this. I don't know why I didn't know this, but I didn't realize that he was a, what kind of lawyer is he? I can't think of it right now. Like self-injury, or not self-injury, but what is it called when you get in a car accident and stuff? I should know this, but a victim's injury lawyer. So I could have literally, if I lived in South Carolina at the time of my accident, he could have been my lawyer. I didn't get any money anyway, so it was like I had him. But he literally stole this money, a lot of this money from people that needed it because they couldn't go back to work. Like, that's just insane to me. I thought he did something else on the side. I thought he did personal injury, because they were talking about it. Some of those financial crimes are personal injury crimes. And those people didn't realize that they had money. That's just insane to me. I mean, it's just so heartbreaking. Because if you don't have insurance, you need that money for your health. Some car accidents, you bump your head a little bit and you walk away and you're fine, you know. But some car accidents require multiple surgeries, multiple stays in hospitals, and no one is just going to pay for that. Man.
Or deliberations actually start, therefore possibly leading to a mistrial.
To you, Mark Pepper, have you ever seen a defense attorney intentionally insert reversible error into a case, such as suggesting the jurors conduct a vote as to whether they go to Mozelle? That would absolutely trigger discussion about the case, which is
I've
not allowed prior to deliberations.
Right. I've never seen them insert purposely a reason for a mistrial, but I have seen them lay the traps for a mistrial, just as Dick did today, and has done in some other arguments where they actually wanted some testimony in, but they filed a motion to suppress that testimony to force the state to bring it up, and then whether or not it opens the door. What Dick was doing this morning was trying to play the all shucks judge. If the jury wants to do it, I'd like to do it as well, but it's up to the jury. He knows Judge Newman can't go ask the jury that, but what if he would have? There's yet another appealable issue if there's a conviction. Or if he would have said, yeah, sure, I'll do it, it's a mistrial. Or if he says what he did say, no, that's unheard of. You know that. If you want it, though, you got it. You're setting the stage for a potential mistrial. That seems to be some type of strategy that the defense has employed. Remember, these are the defense lawyers whose own client rejected their advice and said, I appreciate your advice, but I reject it, and I will be taking the stand. These folks are doing everything they can to protect him. Now, I suppose they're doing everything to make sure he doesn't get convicted in any scenario possible. And that's their job.
What do you think about the two-gun theory? Because who better than Alex Murdaugh to come up with a mode of murder that would suggest two assailants? He's been a prosecutor. He's tried many, many cases. He's been in on investigations. We know he's not afraid to pull out his fake badge and put his blue light going in his private vehicle. If you wanted to fake out a jury, what better way than to use two weapons?
Well, the only one I can come up with is that you hire somebody to do it. I personally, given all that background, you're absolutely right. He's a former prosecutor, some say current. He carries a badge. He obviously lives in the legal arena in that world and speaks the language. I still personally just don't think he's smart enough to have done this on his own. What I do think is that he used his relationships, or certainly that's a plausible explanation for, as I drive off, the two shooters or one shooter comes up and the guns will be there, or maybe they already have them. Again, we're speculating at this point, but that's exactly what the defense lawyers are going to do in their closing is offer some alternative explanations to just get the jury to hesitate to act as to whether to convict the defendant.
Well, another thing, Dan Corsentino with me, former police chief, former sheriff, served on U.S. Homeland Security Senior Advisory Board, now private investigator. Dan, I don't believe I have ever once seen a murder conspiracy where somebody didn't blab. I mean, exactly. I think that's virtually impossible.
Exactly. In Colorado, we've had at least 2 or 3 murder for hires actually during my career that I've been involved in, and one of those individuals has shared information with a third party, and the case was broke wide open.
I just realized something. Do you remember in court today when they were talking about Paul? It was Alec Murdaugh's brother, and he was talking about Paul and how Paul always had a gun with him. If it was either in his truck or it was on him, he always had a gun because a lot of times he would go like hunting, and it would be for like maybe bird season, like let's say like turkey season, one season, and he would have like a rifle in there for, that. Then it was deer hunting. So then he'd have like another gun in his truck for months because he was busy deer hunting. Does anybody else remember that? So I remember that. So if Alec was so concerned about finding a weapon to protect himself because that's who he was trying to protect, obviously he wasn't trying to protect his wife and child. They were already deceased. So at that point, I think he could say that's fair to say. Wouldn't he go look in Paul's truck for a gun before getting back in his own vehicle and leaving the scene? Or maybe like in the little storage room right where Paul was at, like, wouldn't there be a gun somewhere? I mean, they throw guns everywhere. That's what he said. Paul had guns everywhere. So I just thought of that and I'm like, so why didn't he check Paul's vehicle for a gun or Paul's person? You know what I mean? Or why didn't Paul have a gun near him if he always had a gun? Just so strange. That Paul,
I mean, you're absolutely right, Nancy. Someone's going to talk if that was the case, in my professional opinion. I think the question for me becomes on June 7th, between the hours of when we speculate this murder took place, why at that moment in time when Maggie and Paul were killed, why is that so much outside the norm of Alex Murdaugh's plan for everything else? Everything else he's done in his life has been orchestrated. There's been a pattern. And why isn't this part of that pattern? It just seems unusual to me when you fit it with his personality that there'd be an anomaly here.
And of course, guys, we're about to head back in the courtroom. But while this is not a standard of proof, it can certainly be argued by the state. Who in the world would want Maggie and Paul dead? The best the defense has come up with so far is a random vigilante. For what? Because they read something online and got mad and then decided to show up at the lodge, hope there were going to be guns there, and kill Paul and Maggie. It's crazy. It's outlandish. It's fantastical. That did not happen. So the jury is going to have to sort through potential motives as well. Okay, I'm hearing in my ear, people are starting to mill back into the courtroom.
Okay. In Idaho, we always have a gun with us. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I believe that. In Ohio, there's a lot of people that have guns here too, I believe. I don't know. I grew up around them. My brothers had them. My dad had one. My dad had one, but it wasn't allowed to be like out or anything. It was like a prized possession of his. He wanted to be cool, but he never really even fired the gun. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was using Buster's gun. Yeah, I think that so Pharmacy Girl, I think that the defense said that, and I think they're trying to make it seem like the gun was missing before the homicides. Is that what they were trying to do with that? I wish we could find that thing where Nancy said about all the abbreviations for all the names. Yeah, no, Nancy had one. You have to watch the last Nancy, the last live we did with her. She found like something on the internet, and it was just like an abbreviation of bus, paw, row, mags, or whatever. Like, it was just insane. It is so insane. So it looks like we have a lot more people on in the evening time. I'm not sure if I should do... evenings or mornings. I'm still just kind of trying to find my niche. I am going to come on tomorrow though. So, okay. So what Nancy does to us here, she does it every time. She leaves us hanging. She'll do like the first half. So she'll do like, the morning through lunch. And then her newest podcast just came out. So I was going to play it for you guys tomorrow because it literally just came out. I was like, are you kidding? She always gets me like that. So we can listen to that one tomorrow and see what, because I think they're going to do all the witnesses and then they take the jury out to see Mozelle, but I'm not sure who they're going to have on the stand in the morning. So I'll keep my, eyes open and ears out. But what is tomorrow? Tuesday? Oh yeah, tomorrow's my anniversary. So, but I'm sure I'll be on here tomorrow night. Evenings. I think I'm going to try evenings maybe. I don't know. I like them both. I'll probably do both. If there's enough to talk about, I'll do both. Because, I don't mind. Yes, please. Yeah, I did. I did 2 lives today, didn't I? Yeah, if you would please subscribe to the video. I do work really hard. I try to anyway. I literally just do YouTube for you guys. And then I have a boutique, but it takes me a while to get ready for my my lives. Oh, well, good. I'm glad that you're here. Really? I mean, back then they didn't care. My brother or my dad had a fist that was like a gun. That guy, he didn't need a gun, but he did have one when he got older. He just wanted to be cool. I think I'm going to do evenings. I think I'm just going to, I think I'm going to do a community post. I've been trying to do more community post for you guys. That way you guys can see when I'm going live. Because I know sometimes the notifications don't come through. I know that we're trying to look into it. Because Vincent's the IT guy. So he's been trying to figure it out. I think if you're on your cell phone or your iPad, you have to just make sure that your notifications are all on, not just the bell, but in your settings, make sure that it's YouTube is allowed to send you notifications. That's what it'll say. Well, good. You did make it to say goodnight. We're not getting off just yet. I could stay on for a couple extra minutes. But yeah, what else do I want to tell you guys? We did do, in the beginning of the live, I was telling you guys we have new memberships. So let me go over them again because I had them wrote down. So that way it was a little easier. But we do have a new tier. It should be on there, I think, now. Let me check really quick. Because I thought it sent me an email earlier. Oh yeah, if I could figure it out. Oh, whoops, sorry. Yep, so it's on there now. So we have, the first one is just Titan emoji and it's $1.99 a month and you'll get a badge and you'll get to use all the custom emojis. And then Titan tier 1 is $2.99 a month. And with that tier, you'll get priority reply to comments, member shout outs, member only live streams. Plus you get the all of the things for the Titan emoji. And then if you do Titan tier 2, you get both Titan tier 1 and the Titan emoji. Plus you'll get early access to new videos, exclusive members only videos, life vlogs, behind the scenes, discounted merchandise. So those are the ways, or that's the tiers that we have. And I'll go ahead and paste it in there if anyone does want to join. Because we are going to have some good lives coming up. We're going to do a mental health live. I'm excited about that one. I think that'll be good for all of us. So maybe we'll do that on the 1st or something. That way, it'll be the first week. That way we can just kind of, hang out and get our minds right. Oh, also, one more thing I want to tell you. If you guys didn't see the community post, I'm going to show you my community post really quick. It was about Kaylee Gonzalez's sister, Olivia. She had her baby, so it's right here. Theodora Maddie K. Stevenson arrived at 4:21 a.m., 6 pounds, 6 ounces, 19 inches long. Olivia and Robbie are doing great, it says, and we are blessed. And then I wrote, this is the happiest I've seen Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez. Congrats, Olivia and Robbie. Her middle name is Maddie K. So this is them. We've had so many really sweet comments in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I'm going to screenshot this somehow, and I'm going to send it to them through their Facebook page, just so they could just see, the love and support that they have, that they have out there for them and their babies, and, and they need it right now. I think they're not able to talk through the press, and they really want to, and so I think it'd be something cute we could share. So I do need a day off. Oh, thanks, Karina. If you're talking to me, I don't know if you're talking to me or Summer. Summer's usually pretty cool. I signed it too. For some reason they gave me some members badges. I don't know how I earned them. I didn't do anything other than send you guys all there to buy sweatshirts. I was like, everyone go buy a sweatshirt, but yeah. So maybe I do, that's a good idea. Yeah, no, it is hard to replay 1.5 hours. So what I'm thinking about doing is I used to do shorter videos. I'm going to try to get back into doing more shorter ones along with the lives. I'm trying to get my groove where the people are, because on analytics it tells you, but it doesn't really tell you. So I am going to. Really? That's crazy. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. So yeah, and then I will put it on the community post too. So, oh, thanks, Karina. I like you too. I love that we can all come into this chat and have difference of opinions and still be just awesome. You know what I mean? Really, we all do that. Is Kelly D still in here? She's not in here, I don't think. Me and her the other day, we were going back at it. We were both fact checking, back and forth, I felt like. And then she came in the chat the next day. She's like, I'm sorry if I was testy. I didn't feel very good. And I felt so bad because I was like, I'm sorry if I was testy. We're like a big family in here. Yeah. So if Summer starts to take them off, we let her go. We just give bail money together. We watch the trial in court TV. Yeah, I'll probably rest it up. I'm going to take some days off here in a few days, probably anyway. I might take I don't know. I'll let you know exactly when, but it might be it's only going to be a few days just to bounce back, just to get myself 100%, but it'll be in a couple days. It is. And I could not print. Okay. Steph sells stuff by the seashore. Okay. I thought I wasn't going to be able to get that one, but I did. Yeah. Kelly D she was in pain. Aw, I hate when the lives end too. I really do. But Vincent's probably out there sleeping. So if I jump back on, that's why. Everyone will be like, here comes Tanya. She's back. But I love you guys. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel and you do like the content, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon to be alerted for all new content and all new stuff. I have videos upon videos upon videos. If you want to talk about any of the cases that are, going on right now, I should have a playlist for those. If they're not, all the videos may not be in the playlist, but they're all under the videos tab. So sorry, I'm still trying to work that out. I'm newer at this. I just started using thumbnails 4 months ago? And Vincent is always watching. Except for when he's not. He might be asleep. But you guys all have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. I think I'm going to do a later live, if anything. So it'll probably be around 8, 9 o'clock. But I'll let you guys know for sure. Bye, guys. I love you so much.